the end, a vision without the ability to execute is probably a hallucination. Steve Case, AOL. I want to make sure your vision comes to life and it's not just a hallucination. And building your product or service is where the rubber hits the road. This is where you actually can get a product, build it, and get it to market. And that's so critical to the overall process. Your product strategy is the culmination of how you define your product or service, what the vision is around your product or service, the roadmap for future development, and most importantly, the execution. How are you actually going to execute on your product or service? So what's the first step? The first step is define your product or service. We've got to be really clear about what you're actually building, and you've got to be really clear about it. Otherwise, you're going to go off in all these different directions and never get the product out to market. So in order to get a product out to market faster, we want to make sure that you've got clarity about exactly what you're going to build. So let's ask some questions. First question is, what is your offering? It's a very basic question, but what is your product or service? You want to make sure that's defined. Second thing is, what is your customer actually buying? Make sure you understand what they get, because they're going to want to understand what they get. How are they going to benefit from whatever you're delivering? Very important. How are you going to make it available to them, and when are you going to make it available to them? And also the ultimate goal of what is the ultimate goal of your product or service? Very critical. Now, a very important idea that I want to make sure that you understand, that almost all entrepreneurs want to make sure their product is perfect before they show it to the world, before it launches. And you have that innate inside of you. Most entrepreneurs don't want to launch something until it's perfect. And you've got to get out of that mindset, because I will tell you right now, it's better to actually launch a good product faster than it is to launch a perfect product sometime in the distant future, or maybe never. In a lot of cases, that's actually what happens with businesses. They actually never launch the product because the entrepreneur just keeps making it more and more perfect. The problem is that when you try to make something perfect, you're not going to get it perfect, because you've got to get it in the hands of the customer, and they're going to tell you what they want. So that customer feedback coming into your product is a critical process. So I think it's better, always better, to get something out there, get the feedback, and then rev the product or revise the product accordingly. Now, the one caveat here is the product still has to be good. It has to be complete enough to where you can actually get it out and somebody can use it and they can have a good experience with it. You don't want to launch too early or so early that customers have problems with it, that it's buggy if it's software, or it just doesn't work overall. That would ruin your reputation, so I don't want you to do that. The sooner you get the product out there, the better it is. Now, I'm also a big believer, by the way, a byproduct of this is you're going to create cash flow. So the earlier you get it out there, the more you're actually going to be able to fund your company with the product or service that you're delivering. I think that's really important. So here's the great thing. This entire process is called the minimum viable product. It's a very important concept that I want to make sure you understand. Or MVP. You might have actually heard that term before. It's very popular. And it actually started off in the software industry, but it actually applies to everybody and everything. And I've been using it for many, many years. Every business I start, and I always have to say to myself, what is my minimum viable product? Because our inclination is to build everything and then launch. We don't want to do that. Your MVP, or your minimum viable product, actually says, what do you need in order for customers to receive value from what you're delivering? And then you can start selling. And that's really the definition of how I want you to be thinking about this. When your customer receives value, that's a great thing for them, and you're going to get it out there. They're going to get value, and you're going to get cash, which is very important. Also, you're going to get a ton of feedback. So I do actually recommend that you do this in fairly quick succession. What I mean by that is get the product out there, get the feedback, and rev it quickly. One of the values of you being a small entrepreneurial startup is that you're agile. And so being able to move through this process is a great thing. And you think about your competitors or your bigger competitors, which could take years to actually iterate through a process like this, where you as a small entrepreneur just getting started, you have the luxury of being very agile. So I want to make sure that's embedded into your entire product development process. We actually get that from the software industry as well. It's been used for years and it's very, very effective. The key that I want you to remember is that it has to be something that delivers value to the customer and that they'll pay for it. All right, let me share with you an example of MVP. And I'm going to use Voss Water. Basically, their vision was the highest quality water to the highest accounts in a highest quality packaging possible. That's what they set out to do. In 1998, that was a bit revolutionary as well. Bottled water was not new. However, high-end bottled water was kind of a new concept. So these were two Norwegian businessmen that partnered up to take over a small niche of the premium bottled water market. So what they did first is they got the rights to a spring. They worked on the design, which was very important. They inked a distribution deal with all the high-end hotels and restaurants, and that's what their target was first. No retail distribution to start at all. In fact, they only started in Europe and then later expanded to the US. So you're starting to see how their business started to form. They originally had a very narrow offering. They only sold to the highest luxurious establishments, and they only sold one size of the bottled water. That was it, and only one type of the bottled water as well. But the darn thing took off. And they started adding retail accounts and distribution partners, and they went to direct to consumer. They added new packaging and new sizes. They also continued on with their product development and added sparkling water and flavored water. So the founders didn't wait to validate whether or not high-end water would work. They started with one niche, and then they began, as their success grew, they began to expand their product line. And that's exactly how I want you to build your business as well. Start with something, plant the seed, and then grow from there. I got to tell you, that's how all great businesses have started. So let's take a look at some of the building blocks to actually create your product strategy overall. So these are some good strategies to take a look at. First of all, you have to develop a concrete, feasible product or service for launch. We got to know exactly what we're launching with. I also recommend that you build a product vision and a roadmap for the future. It's going to be an important building block to actually making the strategy come to life. We want to be able to articulate our product strategy and our business plan and our pitch, because every investor, I guarantee you, is going to want to know exactly what this is. Our product service also needs to be defined in terms of what we're going to be building on our first release, or what do we already have. It can be either one as a part of the business plan. In addition, what is the minimum viable product? That has to be clearly stated as part of the business plan, and the roadmap. The roadmap also has to say exactly what am I going to build now, and ultimately what am I going to build. So what is my ultimate product or service going to be? And then a key important point is, how do you actually defend your product or service against claims and competitive threats? So you want to proactively address these as well, because you want to be able to defend your product strategy overall. So these are just some of the building blocks to actually put together as we start to think about how that strategy works, because we want to create these building blocks into a unique story. So feel free to mix them up, make them work for you. The next thing I recommend is actually developing your product strategy playbook. And this is going to help you define your overall product or service, what that offering is to the world. You're going to know what you need to build today and into the future. You're also going to understand the level of effort that's actually needed to build out your product or service as well. And it's going to motivate other people to actually get engaged with your endeavor, both investors, employees, other stakeholders. I think it's actually a really good thing to do, because the product or service that you're offering really hooks people into the overall business. Also, defining your pricing strategy. That's also part of the product strategy in terms of understanding how pricing is structured, because that's going to inform a lot of how you develop the actual product, whether it's going to use certain types of materials, high-end or low-end, what have you. It's going to be based on your pricing strategy as well. And then connect all the financial models up so you understand how much your MVP is actually going to cost. That's another key component to the playbook, is the cost factor and the financials that actually go into this. And then finally, we have to take a look at our marketing plan. So all the things that are integrated into our marketing plan need to be part of your product strategy playbook as well. What marketing collateral, online product descriptions, packaging, trade show materials, and other things. Even the creation of your slide deck as well, which all comes together. And I like to call this, again, that playbook, because all these components together start to address and answer the question of what is my product strategy. So as it comes to investors, what are they looking for as it relates to your business strategy overall? First thing is, they're looking for proof of viability. They want to make sure whatever product and service that they hear coming from you is viable business, and that's what they're looking for. The other thing that I highly recommend is that product vision or that service vision you use to hook the investors, because they get very excited when they can relate to a product vision or a service vision. They get very excited about that, and it gets them interested. So you want to really get them interested. Also, it tells them if you're clear on what your product offering is. So if you're all over the map in terms of what your strategy is, and you're not really definitive about what the actual product is going to do or what the actual service is going to do, they're going to pick up on that like crazy, and they're not going to invest. I guarantee you, if you're not clear about it, they're not going to be clear about it. Now, the investor will scrutinize the core offering closely. So make sure that it's unique and that those unique characteristics actually come out. Also, they're going to be looking toward, does this product or service resonate with customers? Because we've got to have customers if we're going to make any money, and that's what they're looking to do. Investors are also looking at your ability to execute. And they're going to be looking for such things as your expertise, your access to manufacturing or raw materials, your ability to scale to meet demand. They're looking at all these factors in your overall plan and your overall product strategy. They will look at your product or service lifecycle as well. Your ability to launch, what is your MVP, what is your revenues when you get started, and how those revenues are actually going to scale. They're going to look and evaluate all of that. How fast can you come out with new versions as well? Critically important, because they know that most products or services require iteration because they understand the concept of MVP. Also, they're going to look at one very important element of your business. Are you a single product? Are you a one-trick pony? Or do you have an entire product line? You don't have to have the entire product line right when you're pitching, but they need to see the vision that actually comes with that. Because what they're looking for, are you a product or are you a business? So the difference between a product and a business is that companies that are products have more than one product. They marry services to that. There's a whole product strategy that feeds the entire business, where if you just come to them and say, here's my one product, here's what I'm going to do to market it, they might not actually see that as an entire business and then not really want to invest. An investor will also look for how you're going to reinvest in your product. So as you get early proceeds in your business, how do you reinvest them back into the product in future revs? Also looking at what products or services can be added to grow the business. So they might look at the core product or even the core product line, but they're thinking 2 steps ahead and saying, what can I do to add to this? And then finally, what is the overall unifying vision? How does the product and service fit into the overall vision and mission of the company? So I've been developing product strategies for my entire career, and it's something that I absolutely love to do. So I've got some keys to success that I've found over the last 25 years of doing this that can help you as well. First of all, when you're presenting your product or service, tell a story. When you're presenting that strategy, I want to make sure that you define what the core product or service is that you're offering, but also what's unique about that and how you're serving your customers in a unique way. And also build into that your product vision. Your product vision, again, different from your overall company vision. Your product vision is very focused on your product and or your service. Make sure that your offering is clear and easy to understand. I can tell you that will scare everybody away. If they can't understand it, they won't invest or they won't work for you otherwise. So make sure that vision is crystal clear. Next, you must include a product roadmap in your overall strategy. It's critical. Investors invest both in what you have today, but they really invest in what the future is going to hold. And your product roadmap is actually going to communicate that. It's going to lay out all the milestones that you need for your product or service. So that's a really important thing. It's a key to success. Also, you can't just set it and forget it. A product strategy is not something that you just kind of put on the shelf and then go back and do whatever you want. You've got to review your product strategy continually and allow it to evolve. As your product develops, you're going to go ahead and get customer feedback. You're going to change your offering. You're going to expand your offering. You're going to look for new opportunities. That's going to modify that product strategy. So product strategy should be updated every quarter, maybe even every month, depending on how fast your business is moving. Very important. And then follow the MVP model. It is absolutely critical for your success. I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, the inclination is to keep developing. It's exactly what I want to do. But when I'm developing my product or my service, what I do is I have to step back and say, is it really needed for launch? Is it really needed? And you cross it off the list if it's not needed. It's actually really important. It's very hard to do because you always want to give more. You always want to do more. But you got to get out there. You got to start making money. You got to start proving the model, and then we can add it. And I can tell you from many years' experience, if you get your product or service strategy right, the likelihood of your business being successful goes up exponentially. So let's really get this one right. I really hope you found this video valuable. Now, the best conversations start with you, so make sure that you leave a comment, a question, or maybe a takeaway that you got from watching this video. And you're not only going to help yourself, but other entrepreneurs as well. We're adding new videos all the time, so make sure you subscribe to our channel and get access to all this great content that will help you build your business. Oh yeah, make sure that you also share this video with a friend because they can benefit from it too. Be sure to visit entrepreneurnow.com to subscribe to our newsletter, Launch. Now, you'll get exclusive access to articles, free videos, interviews with world-class entrepreneurs, access to our live events, and insider tips that you can't get anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Entrepreneur Now TV. If you want help with making your business a huge success, then go to entrepreneurnow.com and learn from successful entrepreneurs that will take you step by step through the process of creating and growing your business. Whether you need help with things like a business or financial plan, your overall business strategy, tactical marketing and sales execution, or obtaining financing, we will be right there every step of the way to help you. Every entrepreneur I know benefits from having someone right there as they launch and grow their business. So we provide one-on-one and group mentoring to all our members. In addition, our members get access to on-demand videos, all our live events, financial planning tools, and a library of worksheets and resources at their fingertips. And the best part of all is you're part of a community of entrepreneurs that learn and inspire each other. So now is the time for you to take action. Go to entrepreneurnow.com and join us today. So what's a target market anyway? Essentially, it's just a group of customers with a certain profile that are ideal for your product or service. Jeff Bezos, in the early days of Amazon, said, I need to be the best at delivering, and that's going to be my unique competitive advantage. It's really hard to compete with Amazon, and it's all about the delivery.